phone calls scattered in there as well, and some news along the way. So everything is on the app as usual. And also, at some point in the next day or so, I am going to put up some new video on the YouTube channel of some of the recent interviews. So another way to see some of the stuff that we do here on the show. And you can subscribe to that as well and check that out. A lot of good ways to connect with the content. Appreciate you doing so. So if you were listening to yesterday's show, when I was closing it out, I think it was the last phone caller, we were just taking open phones. And the last guy that called in said, "Hey, Eddie, I got to tell you about a total rock douche moment that I had." Meaning that, he had an interaction with somebody in a band who was a jerk, a douche, a dick to him. And the caller said it was Prince, something to do with Prince, because they went to see Prince and Prince went on super late, or he didn't actually have a direct interaction with Prince, but he was pissed off because Prince went on late, showed up late, screwed him up. I don't remember exactly what he said because I found it so funny the way he called in and blurted that out and just wanted to tell me about it. So if you were listening to that, I found it very funny. And I said to the guy, that is a great idea for a show. And after I got off the air yesterday in talking to Joel, I said, you know what? Let's do that show tomorrow. So I always tell you guys to keep an eye on social media, because that's where we let you know sometimes what we're doing the next day. Because, again, being a live show, stuff constantly changes and guests can hit me up at weird times or things can just fluctuate. And I wasn't sure what was going to be going on today. And then after we got off the air yesterday, I said to Joel, you know what? Let's do that. We've decided to call it Rock Gone Wrong. and basically you get the idea of it. If you had, basically a negative experience, and this could be a lot of different things. This could be an interaction with an artist, like kind of out of nowhere, randomly. It could be an interaction in a paid VIP meet and greet situation. I've talked about that all the time. I mean, look, many artists are doing these paid VIPs. And they're all business transactions. I tell you guys about it all the time. They're simply there for the artist to make additional money. It is a business transaction. And you are, I'm not saying anybody's doing anything wrong, but that, know what it is. And I've always maintained that if you're doing that transaction, meaning you are paying an artist for the opportunity to meet them, shake their hand, take a photo with them, but maybe get something signed. I mean, to me, those paid interactions should be very, very well laid out as to what you get and what they get. Okay, you're paying them $100 in exchange. There is a photo, there isn't a photo. Excuse me. You get a signature, you get something signed, you don't get something signed. I mean, we've heard a million things about those, right? Don't touch me, don't look at me. Standing on a podium, don't even, it's almost like a Weekend at Bernie's type photos. It's crazy. But we've seen and heard about every scenario there. I've talked about these paid signing shows, which have become very, very popular. Although the one that Gene Simmons was supposed to do here in Vegas was pushed into next year. So that one initially wasn't so popular, but they're, I think, retooling that. But they're all over the place, and everyone does them. I brought up more than once, people forget, Ozzy's last public appearance was a paid autograph signing show in England. Not back to the beginning, that. But, you know, whether it's Chiller, Fanboy, whatever it is, there's a million of them now. Same deal. They're paid interactions. Everyone's got their price. You pay the price. You get whatever the parameters are of the deal. So you can have a lot of situations there, you know, where there could be something that went wrong. Which, again, in my opinion, in those paid situations, it shouldn't have gone wrong because, again, that is a pure business transaction that should be very laid out. A random chance interaction, I think, has a much higher probability of something going wrong because the person probably doesn't want to be bothered. Maybe they're eating, maybe they're with their family, so you've got to be very tactful in those situations. So we can hear about all of this stuff. We can hear about shows you may have went to where things went wrong. You know, I think a lot of the jumping off on this also took place because yesterday I touched on, or last week I think I touched on too, because we had Duff on last week, about Guns N' Roses and how smoothly the whole GNR thing has been for the last 10 years, as they are now on their 10th year of touring, basically. And I mentioned that ever since this started, for the most part, that's gone incredibly smooth. But I reminded people prior to the reunion with Slash and Duff, it was anything but. Because you had the band going on at 11, 12 o'clock at night and playing till 3 in the morning on weeknights. Any night of the week, that's crazy. We had the guy that triggered this whole conversation talking about, you know, going to see Prince and whatever happened there. So that is the tone of today's show. Give me a story. Give me something where you had a not great interaction, whether it was random, whether it was paid for, whether it was a meet and greet, whether it was just a concert situation, whatever it may be. If you got a story of, in your view, rock going wrong, let's hear it today. And call it in at 844-686-5863, and we will hear your stories. And I'm very much looking forward to this because I think it's there's a lot of fertile ground out there for some of this to have happened. And by the way, last thing, before I give you a little news and get ready to take those calls, is it does not necessarily also have to be related to a specific person or artist. Could be an event. You know, could be a concert. It could be something with the promoter, the stage, the venue, the audience, the lineup. Something that happened during the concert. So that's fair game, and that's open as well. All right, so that's what we're doing today, and I look forward to hearing from you on that. Again, rock gone wrong. And we'll see what we get into. Not a whole lot of news today, so we'll get to the calls quickly. Creed have announced some new shows towards the end of the year. They're calling them Creedmas, tying in with Christmas, of course. Creed has done some year-end, just before the holiday shows in the past, ever since they got active again. And they did a New Year's Eve show here in Vegas a couple years ago. And they are returning to Vegas for holiday-themed shows. They will be playing 2 dates at the Fontainebleau here in Vegas, December 11th and 12th. That is a fairly new resort. It's beautiful in there. It's more on the north end of the Strip, but it is a really nice place with some really incredible restaurants as well. And, they're just trying to get that place going, but it's been a little bit of a struggle, but it's, they're hanging in there with it. But anyway, December 11th and 12th, all that being said, the concert venue, it is a new place. It's an interesting place here in Vegas because They built it like 10 years ago, 80% of it, and then they stopped, and it sat there for 10 years. People thought it was never going to open, and then a few years ago it did open. But real nice place, and it's got a nice concert venue in there as well. It's a nice sized theater. I saw Duran Duran in there. So that's where Creed will be playing. Again, Creed did not do all that much this year. They did their cruise. They did a couple scattered shows because a lot of this year is being spent on Alter Bridge, which again, 3 of the guys are in Alter Bridge that are in Creed. So closing out the year with a couple Creed events, the Fontainebleau show, December 11th, 12th, Vegas, and then a show in Highland, California, December 14th at the Yamava Casino. So 3 shows in December, wrapping up the year for Creed. And then we'll see what they do next year outside of their cruise next year, which is sold out. I'm not sure if they'll do any standalone shows. They've kind of teased the idea of maybe doing a new song or some new music or continuing to play. I mean, they draw incredibly well and sell out pretty much everywhere they play because they don't play all that often. So they could keep doing this for a few more years the way they are as well. We'll see. A lot of concern out there for Frank Beard, drummer in ZZ Top. ZZ Top abruptly canceled a show last week at the Hollywood Bowl in LA. They had cited kind of cryptic as far as the reason for the cancellation. Now, various reports from both Rolling Stone and TMZ are saying the issue is with the health of ZZ Top's drummer, Frank Beard, and that he is battling some serious health stuff. We know that Frank Beard had stepped away from performing with the band not long ago due to some health issues. And much like when Dusty Hill was unable to play, ZZ Top barely missed a show plugging in Elwood Francis. We also know that ZZ Top resumed doing shows days after Dusty Hill died with Elwood. There was a bit of controversy there at the time. I mean, my slogan, no band ever ends, but a lot of people thought they would have taken more of a beat there having an original member die, but they were back on the road days later, which was incredible. So we don't exactly know what is going on with Frank Beard, but various outlets reporting he is dealing with a health concern, not the first time, certainly wishing him well, and we'll see what happens. But also, like previous times with ZZ Top and so many other bands as we've seen, whether it's illness, a member dying, whether it's a falling out, whatever, again, nobody cancels shows. And they just keep going and going and going. ZZ Top already have a replacement drummer, and his name is Michael Monaghan, and he has been performing while Frank Beard deals with whatever he is dealing with. So that leaves ZZ Top as, of course, who always were a trio, and for the longest time were one of the few bands with all original members. Obviously, that changed when Dusty Hill passed away. And now with Frank Beard not being on the road with them, that leaves ZZ Top down to one original member, of course, being Billy Gibbons. Spotify has announced that in mid-September, they are going to start labeling music that is AI generated. I think this is a very good thing and a very smart thing and a very helpful thing. Every single day we are seeing the rapid emergence and infiltration of AI into just about everything and anything that we do. Whether you realize it or not, whether you want it or not, it's happening. And it is having a massive impact on music and really creative stuff in general. And we have seen examples and instances where there have been AI-generated songs that have gone high up on the charts that were not made by a human. And it has become very, very problematic, as you would imagine, on a number of different levels. So Spotify has said they will use technology and will put a badge on any songs that are AI generated and were not created by a human. This will begin again in mid-September. Hopefully the other streamers will follow suit as well. And I was thinking about the irony of this because in the statement that Spotify put out about this, they were saying how important it is that music is continuing to be, created and written by human beings and all of that. How about in the live concert industry, in advertising and on tickets when you buy it? And this has long been talked about by people who also have a massive issue, as you should, with live shows not being live. How about disclosure there? How about before you spend your hard-earned money to hear a band play live that's not actually playing live, how about if you were told in advance, by the way, the live show you're paying your money to go hear and see is going to be 30%, 40%, 50%, 70% generated by pre-recorded tracks and computers. How about a disclosure? The singer you are paying to hear sing is actually not singing. You are hearing a pre-recorded vocal track, or you are hearing an AI program that makes the singer sound better than he's actually singing. How about that? I mean, it would seem right, would seem fair, would seem even almost more important, right? You're paying hundreds or thousands of dollars to hear a live show that's not live. You're doing it every day. You should know, right? You should know what you're getting. You should know what you're paying for. How about that little badge on the ad for the concert or when you buy your tickets? When you buy a ticket on Ticketmaster, you got to opt in to all that fine print. I'm okay with the ticket I'm paying $500 for being sold for $30 day of show. How about it says, oh, by the way, the show you're paying might not actually be live? I mean, it would make a lot of sense. Would seem to be the right thing to do for the consumer. Would almost seem to be illegal to not do it. Doesn't seem crazy to me. Here's the sad part, though. How many people would just still opt in and be like, yeah, I don't care. I want to see that person standing on stage, even though he's not really singing or playing. I like to look at them. I like to see their outfits. I like to see the light show. I mean, you would. Because there's people out there that know. There's a lot of stuff online you can find out to see who's doing what. There's a lot of people that they still go, oh, yeah, they sounded great. Okay. You could have sounded like that, too, if you were standing in front of that microphone because you're not hearing them. Again, I just can't not keep coming back to what's happening out there, folks. It's just insane. So anyway, at least in recorded music that we know is recorded, Spotify is taking some action here, and I think it's a good thing. I just worry that, people aren't going to care if it's a catchy song and a computer made it. Oh, who gives a shit? I mean, people in this town that I'm in, every night, nightclubs are packed with people listening to computers that make music. It's called EDM. Dave Stewart of the Eurythmics has made a new album. And on this record, he did everything. Played all the instruments, wrote all the songs, etc. Name of the album is The Way It Was Back Then. It'll be released on September 18th. And I bring it up also because this is interesting, and we've seen this a couple times. At least initially, it is only going to be released physically. The only way you can get this record and hear this music is if you buy it on CD or on LP. And that's a new thing that's been emerging a little bit that I'm starting to see here and there. Not all that widespread, but a little bit. And it'll be interesting to watch where that goes and if that continues and becomes more of a thing. And the idea behind it really is to get people more engaged with the music, to get people to physically own it and get the packaging. If you buy it physically, you have there's a much bigger likelihood that you're going to listen to all 10 tracks on the record. Say there's 10 songs or whatever, that you're going to listen to it from start to finish. You're going to spend more time with it. Again, if you're just clicking on things on streaming or YouTube or whatever, if you're 30 seconds into the first song, you don't like it, you might jump to the second song, 10 seconds in, I don't like it. Third song, 5 seconds in, and you're gone for good. Whereas if you pay $10, $15 for vinyl, $30, $40 for something, you're a little more likely to sit there, put that needle on, or push that disc into the slot and, dedicate your time to getting into it. So I think there's that component to it, and there's also a financial component, because you've heard artists complain forever about not being paid properly percentages on streaming. So if you're able to sell it physically, you obviously are going to make way more money, at least initially, but obviously be also going to a much more limited outlet, Sadly, very few people are going to actually buy it. So be interesting to see where that goes going forward. I interviewed Dave Stewart once. He was this was before I was doing that metal show. It was for TV. He was doing a band that Joel could look this up for me and probably tell me what it is. The name of the band escapes me. It was very short-lived. It was not the Eurythmics. He did a band with the songwriter Cara DioGuardi. If you don't know who she is a songwriter, and at one point I think she was on American Idol as a judge for one season or something. She wrote pop songs, though, for Christina Aguilera, people like that. They did this duo, and it had like this backstory. It was like
Platinum Weird.
Thank you, Joel. I knew you'd find it. Platinum Weird. That was the name of the band. It's probably would have been around 2005 or 6. Is there a year on that record, Joel?
2006.
There you go. My timeline's awful, but every once in a while it's kind of in the ballpark. So yeah, because we started that metal show in 2008, and then I did the regular stuff at VH1 Classic like 2002 to 2006. So it was around that time. But she came in, Dave Stewart came in. I remember they were like in kind of like retro outfits. There was some weird backstory, like that they were this band that actually wrote all the hit songs for whoever, I don't know. And they made this record. It didn't go anywhere. But they had obviously massive success in other areas, and they were just trying something different. I remember I was in the green room of our studio talking to Cara. It was the only time I met her. And there was a Christina Aguilera video that came on, and the song was really a big hit song at the time. And she was like, "Oh, this is great. This is great." And I was, it's not really my thing. And she goes, I go, "Why are you really like this, huh?" She goes, "Yeah, I really like it because I wrote the song." And I go, "Oh, I'd like it too. You'd be getting those checks every month." All right, last thing for you. If you're a fan of Rob Zombie's horror films, 3 of them in particular, House of a Thousand Corpses, Devil's Rejects, and 3 from Hell, there is going to be a deluxe box set of all three of these films called the Firefly Trilogy. And they will be released on October 13th in a box set of 8 discs. These are 4K ultra high def Blu-ray discs. So again, same old story when you hear about all this remixing or super high resolution. You got to have the equipment if you're actually going to see it that way. But if you do, or you're a collector, or you love Rob's horror movies, this is a way to get them all in this format, again, starting on October 13th. I find it endlessly interesting that all we hear about is it's a streaming world. Nobody wants anything physical anymore. And every day I've got stories about box sets, Blu-rays, vinyl, Dave Stort's physical only release. So, and by the way, I love that because I'm a big fan and supporter and proponent of keeping physical out there. It's just, what's real? Who the hell knows anymore? And I got to look more into this too, real quick. This just hit me speaking of physical. So, Kiss is going to release this show they did in 1976 for its 50th anniversary. It was a widely bootlegged concert from Anaheim, California. At the time, it was the biggest crowd Kiss ever played to at Anaheim Stadium. And it's been remixed and cleaned up, and they're going to put it out soon. And of course, they're doing vinyl and CD, but one of the CD versions that they are going to put out is some sort of Japanese new high definition audio CD. It's selling for like $80. And I'm real curious about it, and I don't know much about it, but it's only out of Japan. Apparently the disc will play on regular CD players as well, but it'll probably be the same thing. You can play it on a regular CD player, but you're not going to get the benefit of whatever the better audio is if you don't have the thing that plays this disc. But it's interesting when you look at CDs as a physical format, because a CD has basically always been a CD. And then for a little while, there was the UHCD, I think it was called, the high def CD, which played on DVD players. I actually have a player for that. I mean, digital's digital. I don't know how much better it's going to get in terms of sound, but still interesting to see some developments in the CD area, which, of course, as many of you know, is by far my favorite format. And of course, there was a report that came out recently that in the last year, CD sales have increased by 16%. That is a huge jump. So I've been saying it forever. You are going to see the gradual push back to everyone telling you how great CDs are to make you rebuy that format again after you likely abandon it. The other day, my son went through my CDs and pulled out like 20 that he told me he wanted. Initially, I pushed back on it because I'm like, no, they're mine. What are you doing? And then I actually said, no, you know what? Take it. To have a soon-to-be 19-year-old into CDs, I'm like, go with it. It's all good. All right, Joel, anything you got?
Yeah, one story to add. We got news today of Jay Buchanan announcing a 2026 Storytellers Tour. He's taking his solo material out, doing a solo acoustic set. Dates kick off September 11th and run through the end of October. It's about 20 some odd dates. It's called the Storyteller Tour.
So it's solo acoustic, I'm assuming, right?
Yes. Yeah, it's behind the Weapons of Beauty album, which came out. It was late last year or earlier this year.
Yeah, we had Jay, excuse me, we had Jay on for that record. And it's, if you remember that, he talked about he went into like a cave or something out in the desert and wrote the record and recorded, I think, some of it down there. And it's very stripped down, very acoustic record. But as I told you guys, Jay Buchanan, who is the singer in Rival Sons, is such an extraordinary voice that I could listen to that guy do anything. And in related news, we know Rival Sons announced tour dates for later this year, so they're going to go back out on the road. Their guitar player, Scott Holiday, who I also love, has his first ever solo record coming out. And I listened to it, and it is extremely trippy. I mean, it's trippy. It is not anything like Rival Sons. It is kind of, I don't know what you'd call it, psychedelic, progressive. I just called it trippy. Some of it has some vocal on it, some of it doesn't, but that's coming in the next few weeks, I believe. So those guys just doing some stuff on the side as they continue to work on hopefully a new Rival Sons album coming soon. One of my favorite bands, that band, as many of you guys know. You know what else is crazy too? Real quickly here, because it's on the news here a lot, and it's on the news everywhere. In the music world, not the rock music world, but Tupac Shakur was shot and killed here in Vegas. Can you believe that's coming up on 30 years ago? 30 years ago. It doesn't, the corner where he got killed and murdered, I go around that corner a lot in my car because there's I come out of the Planet Hollywood Casino because my favorite restaurant is in Planet Hollywood. And when I leave, there's the light, the intersection there where that happened. And it always hits me when I'm at that light. Think about it. And it does not feel like it's 30 years ago. But what's wild about that story, if you guys haven't picked up on this, the court hearing about it is just happening now. Like there's a trial now happening for his murder 30 years ago. How the hell did that take so long? Unreal. All right. Thank you, Joel. So, Rock Gone Wrong. If you joined us late, again, today's show is inspired by the guy who called in yesterday at the end of the show and said, Eddie, I got to tell you about a real rock douche moment. And that, we decided to clean it up a little bit in terms of just, for the way we're going to phrase it today. We're calling it Rock Gone Wrong, although I do like that guy's name a lot. But for our purposes, we're just going to call it Rock Gone Wrong. And I just gave you the overview at the top of the show. Anything that went wrong, it could be that just wasn't right. Someone was a dick. It was just didn't go right. A concert went bad. A meet and greet went bad. An interaction went bad. Paid interaction, random interaction. Any stories you got, let's hear them. 844-686-5863. We'll be right back.
Now back to Trunk Nation. If it's hard, heavy, fast, loud, and rocks, you'll hear about it here.
Rock is so far from dead, it's ridiculous.
Trunk Nation.
I don't go a day without getting my Trunk Nation in, just so you know.
On Sirius XM's Faction Talk with your host, Eddie Trunk.
Credit where credit is due here. It was Andy in Massachusetts who called in with that moment at the end of yesterday's show, which inspired today's show. So thank you, Andy. His was related to Prince, so we already know what he had to say. All right, let's get into it. See what you got. Rock Gone Wrong. Our first caller is in Maryland. It's Keith getting us started. What's going on, Keith?
Man, I was hoping I wasn't the first one. I want to see what everybody else had to say, but here we go. So mine was through Instagram. I had approached somebody because they were on your show and said that they ran their own Instagram, and I
thought, Keith, you're not going to be first because your phone is cutting in and out. I put you on hold. We'll see if it cleans up, and I'll come back to you. Go to John in New Jersey. Go ahead, John.
Hey, Eddie. Yeah, I live in, I'm around your age. I live in the New York, New Jersey area. And fortunately, I have parents that let me kind of go to shows when I was younger and got to meet a lot of guys that, Keith Richards and a lot of other guys over the years. But NEW used to have shows on the beach in Asbury, and I was at one of the shows, and I was coming out of the Stone Pony, and I happened to see Leslie West. He was walking in, and I was basically walking out. And nobody seemed to know who he was, and he wasn't involved in the show at the time. And I walked up to him to say hello to him, and he almost attacked me. I never met, like in all the years, I've never met somebody that was so nasty. And you know, I was 20-something at the time. So, but I always remember, I always remember he was like the worst person.
Our phones are real crackly, Joel. Is that on our end? He just dropped.
No, I don't know what's going on there. No, he's still there. Hang on. John, you still with us?
Yeah, I am.
Okay, yeah. No, he's still there.
That's
The phones
better.
are a
You
little
sound
crackly, yeah.
But he also just completely went out on me too. I'm sorry, John. So Leslie, did he like physically attack you?
No, but he was just, I don't know. He just got very nasty with me. It wasn't like I was asking him for anything, or I was just kind of going back outside, and he was going in the opposite direction. I approached him to say hi to him, and like I said, I never, understood like what could possibly have done that. I felt so bad afterwards, but I also felt exactly what this call's about. He was just a real douche about things for whatever reason. And real quick, Eddie, ran into Jesse Malin a couple of months ago at a book signing, mentioned that I always mention his name on your show, and he laughed and he said, yeah, D-Generation. So he did mention you when we were talking.
I know Jesse well, and he's a great guy, and I wish him well. I hope he's doing well with his health, and he knows I love.
He's doing some shows at the Vogel down in Red Bank, 2 shows. It's kind of like a storyteller kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I'm going to one of the shows. But, yeah, I've seen him a few times. I mentioned him once or twice on your show. But, that's the opposite spectrum. One of the nicest guys I ever met.
Yeah, thank you, John. Appreciate it. Yeah, well, he knows I love D-Gen. I was an early supporter of D-Generation and loved that band and believed that band should have been huge, and still listen to that band. And unfortunately, they don't do much anymore. However, and by the way, I really like and respect what Jesse has built as a solo artist, no doubt. But I love D-Gen because it's way more in-your-face, punky, heavy, hard rock. But D-Generation is playing a reunion show on Little Steven Van Zant's cruise. I mentioned it about a month ago. I saw it, and I was really surprised and happily surprised to see that. And I'm really hoping that because they're going to have to rehearse and prepare for that maybe that will inspire them to do another show here or there, like a regular show, club show, whatever. In which case, I would do everything I could to go to that because I love that band. So I was they've got a dynamic, that's my key word, between them. But every once in a while, they'll surprise you and come together and actually do a show. I was very, very happily surprised to see that. Let's see if Keith is better on our end. Sounds like it is. Keith, go ahead. You're back on the air.
Hey. Awesome. How do I sound now, Eddie?
Yep, way better.
Awesome. I was driving past a military base. I don't know if it had anything to do with it, but
I think it was on our end, actually. I think we had a little weird thing on our end, but it seems to be cleared up, so we should be good.
All right. So this one was through Instagram. It was with a famous bass player that he was on your show, and he had mentioned that he runs his own Instagram page. So I thought he'd be friendly and talk to him over. So I've opened the conversation up with what kind of basses does he like to play. And automatically I got snapped back with, what kind of bass do you think I play? I've been endorsing Yamaha since, my whole entire career. You should know that. You don't seem like much of a fan if you don't know that. And I was like, okay, well, Geddy Lee wrote a whole bass book, about different basses. I'm sure he doesn't just play one bass. And so we had a little bit of back and forth. I was just like, I've supported you your whole career, buying albums, going to see your band, buying T-shirts, whatever like that. And he just...
So are you going to tell us who it is? I'm going to take a guess, though. I'm going to take a guess.
Who would you say?
Not because the guy's ever been like that to me, but because I know he has played Yamaha pretty much his whole career. Was it Billy?
You got it.
Billy
That's
Sheehan,
the
yeah.
man. Yeah, so
Billy,
at the tail end. Go ahead.
No, because I know Billy has always played Yamaha basses because he gave me one a while ago, so I totally know what it is, yeah.
So I'm going to be honest with you. I pay attention to a lot of people, what they play and stuff like that, but I've never really paid attention to it. I just more pay attention to his playing and listen to the music. But he ended the conversation, through Instagram, just that, well, good luck with your, future, blah, blah, blah. And then after that, he blocked me, so I couldn't go back on there again.
He blocked you?
He blocked me, yeah. Yeah, wow. I can't even go back on his page. Yeah, so that's the first dealing I've ever had. I've met different people in person, and I've had some good experiences, but that through, social media was, the first I've ever had like that.
All right, Keith, thank you. I of course know Billy very well, and I knew Leslie West. Leslie, of course, passed away because those are the first two examples we've had out of the gate here. And I'm not making excuses for any of these people because your interactions are your interactions. I don't know what to say about them, but I will keep this in mind too. And again, not making excuses, but everybody's could catch anybody on a bad day. Anybody could randomly catch having a bad moment. I mean, if people have a pattern behavior of this, then that's one thing. But, again, is what it is. I'm not saying you shouldn't feel however you feel about this stuff happening, but that is something to consider. Here's David in Texas. Go ahead, David.
Hey, just want to preface this by saying this was in 1988, so different times. I was 17. Slayer, Motorhead, and Overkill were playing McAllen, Texas, and I used to live in Reynosa, Mexico, which is right across the border. So I'm not saying we snuck across or smuggled a lot of bottles of tequila, but somehow we wound up with 15 or 16 bottles of tequila to give to the band and the bands in general. And everybody was amazing except for one guy.
Okay.
Lemmy. Lemmy was the one guy that he was awesome. He's even signed an Ace of Spades and everything for me. And after the concert, I went up to him and said, wow, I really love that song and thank you for playing it. And his response was, I didn't play it for you.
Okay.
I love the guy. I mean, I've bought Motorhead stuff. I went to see him again and stuff, but I mean, why would anybody do that? I mean, years later, I'm 55 now. I mean, I've grown up. So, I mean, but that one interaction was I didn't play it for you. I was like, okay, thank you.
Well, yeah, Lem was, he could have a very, I don't think dry sense of humor is the right word, but he could be kind of short. He wasn't the kind of guy that was going to really carry much of a conversation. He was kind of big on one word or quick statements. Even though I certainly knew him, I never had extended deep conversations with him. Even when I've interviewed him over the years, when I did, it was always, and he certainly knew me and I certainly knew him. We always had a pull from him a little bit to get any sort of real elaborate answers, anything more than a one-liner or a zinger. So that doesn't entirely surprise me. That kind of goes with his persona, if you will.
Oh, most definitely. But and I did great on a curve because that was one of the most amazing days I've ever had. Tom and I, we took Kerry King to Burger King. He was hungry. It was the 80s. It's he hopped in a car with two kids he didn't know, and went to Burger King, came back and stuff. Bobby Blitz Ellsworth is just the absolute best guy I've ever met, and I met a bunch of them. And Blitz was he was amazing. He and Dee Dee were great that day, and everybody in Slayer. I didn't meet Jeff, but I met everybody else in all three bands, iconic bands, and But it was just Lemmy was fine at the beginning of the day. It was at the end of the concert. I guess he was just in a British mood, and I don't know. It was just yeah, he was a dick. But I still love him.
Do you remember what Kerry ordered at the Burger King?
I have no idea, but he was very, very happy about buying a Burger King plastic watch for about $1.50 that had said King on it.
Oh, yeah. Right. I got it now.
And yeah, he was very, very, very excited. We got, I mean, back in the day of not in digital pictures, taking 2 or 3 just in case. Tom saying, hey, this one's for your grandmother or something. Why do you want another picture? But, I mean, very great guys. Everybody was amazing. Gave us, guitar picks and autographs and pictures and everything. And it was just a fantastic day all around. But I'll never forget Lemmy's comment.
Yeah. All right, David. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. I haven't had Burger King in a long time. David making me hungry there. It's a good thing. I mean, I'm trying not to eat too much of that kind of stuff, but I can't remember last time I had Burger King or McDonald's. Last time I had McDonald's, actually, I do remember last time I had McDonald's. It was in Japan 2.5 years ago or whatever it was. Because everyone kept telling me, you got to try McDonald's in Japan. It was the same thing. But I always see these Burger King commercials because they're like rebranding it, whatever. Anyway, Kerry King getting the King watch at Burger King. Scott in Manahawkin, New Jersey. What's going on, Scott, down at the Jersey Shore? What's happening?
What's going on, Eddie, man? Big fan.
Thank you.
I love all your stuff you do.
Thank you.
Old Bridge Militia, LHRO.
Nice.
Here's a little shout out to them.
Yep.
Grew up in Old Bridge.
Route 516. I know it.
Yep. It's a mess now, but Motley Crue, 1990, Faster Pussycats. I'm not sure what album that was, but we actually walked out on the show. It was pretty bad. I don't know if they were messed up or what, but they.
Wait, you saw Motley and Faster on the same bill in 1990?
Yes.
Where?
At, the Meadowlands.
Really? I don't remember that. But
I'm looking at the ticket right now.
I'm not denying it. Many years, many shows, but I probably would have been at that. I don't remember Faster opening for Motley, but it sounds about right. Same record label at the time too. Who was bad? Which band was bad? Both or one or the other?
Well, Motley Crue. We walked out as soon as they got on. Luckily, the ticket was only $18.50. Yeah, I've seen that anymore.
Right. Well, actually, I mentioned this yesterday, speaking of tickets and seeing old tickets. Andy Parker from UFO for my birthday gave me the actual full ticket from my actual first time ever seeing UFO and Cheap Trick, Rutgers Athletic Center, 1981 in New Jersey. And I have the ticket. I put a photo of it up on my Instagram, and it is $10.50.
Wow, that's great. Yeah. Also, another band, we walked out on was AC/DC, Madison Square Garden, 1991.
And why was that?
They just, I don't know, they might have been having a bad night. I mean, I'm in music, and to go and see a show and to have it just sound pretty bad. I don't know why.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right, Scott. Well, thank you, man. Appreciate you checking in. Yeah, I'm looking at a poster that Brian Slagle gave me, Cheap Trick UFO, Capitol Theater, 1978. UFO and Cheap Trick played a lot together, late 70s, early 80s. Ticket price $650. Today, that would be $650. Back then, that's $6.50. Oh, man. Times they do change, right? Jay in Philly. Is this the Jay, as in Jay Thomas, perhaps?
Jay Thomas. Yes, sir.
The legend. This is a friend of mine, folks, that I'll be seeing on the Monsters of Rock Well, I see him on the Monsters of Rock cruise. Are you going to the mountain in Tennessee or no?
No, I'm fishing.
Man, you're such a rock animal. How are you not doing that?
I know. It's a bad deal. I'm gonna have to get my card back.
Wait, I need to tell people real quick, Jay, before you say whatever you got to say. I got to tell people.
Yeah.
This is how hardcore of a rock fan that Jay is. Jay goes to Rocklahoma every year, so I'll be seeing Jay in a couple weeks. And Jay told me the other day on text that what do you have to do? You have to go back. You have to go back east for a wedding. Is it a wedding in the middle day, Saturday?
Yeah, it's family wedding. I fly out 7 a.m. I'll miss Saturday, but I come back the next morning.
So he's flying in to Tulsa, which, by the way, there are no direct flights in and out of Tulsa, so forget about that. So on connecting flights, he is flying in to do Rocklahoma on the Thursday night pre-event, and then Friday, and then Saturday morning back to Philly, wedding, Sunday morning, back into Tulsa for the one last day on Sunday night. That, dude, you get the award of awards, man. That is ambitious stuff.
It's Slayer. Slayer's the last band. I can't miss that.
Well, there's that, too. That's right, because you don't see them all the time, so I get it. So, anyway, man, what's your story?
All right, so if you didn't know me, you would fall bullshit about halfway through. But I heard of this 2008 or 9 Ozfest at Jiffy Lube down there in Virginia. And Korn's the last band before Ozzy comes out. I'm a big Korn fan, so I work my way up, and I'm second off the rail, and I'm in front of Monkey. And Monkey is going back to the ants back and taking a piece of bread. He's got a loaf of bread back there, and he's flinging them. And it looks like he's throwing a CD or something. It was actually pretty funny because people grab it and like disintegrate in their hand. And somebody from behind me throws something at him. Now he goes back there, and he comes back with a full-on softball size wet piece of bread, like a ball, and he is running, and your hands at your side. I couldn't get my hand up. It hits me right in the friggin' eye, and my eye is impacted with bread. And it's so tight, I want to throw it back at him. Probably it was better I didn't throw it back. So I have to get my ass out of the pit and go to the infirmary, and I missed like 90% of Ozzy. And you know my gang, they're like, what happened to Jay? What happened to Jay? So and I go home. So I see they're coming back the next year. And I go into their CD, and I find out who their lawyer is in L.A., and I write them, and they call me, and I threaten to charge them when they come. I'm gonna have to come magistrate arrest them, and they they call the band to be called the band. The guy says this. Now, can you imagine hearing that story of the King of a Gypsies calling this kid's working me, right? And they go do their due diligence. They were in Europe, and the guy said, yeah. He says, okay, so what do you want? And the pause was okay. And I asked him for my $125 ticket back from the Ozfest because I missed Ozzy. And I said, and a pick. I wanted a pick. And in the end, it was interesting. They did the right thing. Then they called me, and they gave me 2 tickets to the show they were going to in Virginia again. I got to go backstage. Monkey came out, said apologize. We had a good laugh. And that was the end of that.
So when you got hit with this, do you feel that he was just doing it, like just randomly throwing it, or did he target you?
No, he was pissed. He was pissed off. Somebody hit something. It came over my head, and they hit him with something hard. And he threw it. He was just he had a shitty arm, and he got me.
Wow. So he wasn't going at you specifically, but you were in the fray.
No. And that's the only time I have to leave a pit. That's my only black eye.
So damp bread in the eye.
It took them a half hour to get all the shit out of my eye.
God. Well, yeah, I could imagine that. That's no joke. I mean, that sounds ridiculous,
but you come from
the what?
Where the hell did the bread thing come from? That was
I don't know.
I still think what the Jesus.
I don't know. Jay, got to go. Thank you, man. I'll see you soon.
See you soon. Thank you.
See ya. There are people that you can. I mean, that might sound like, oh, what's the big deal? Damn piece of bread. You can take a piece of bread, you soak it in water, and you can make that thing feel like a softball. I used to, when I was in school, like little kids school, when I was in like, maybe like junior high school, I remember there used to be a kid, this is crazy, but I remember the kid, he used to take a piece of paper, like a regular piece of, rip a piece of paper out of a binder. And he would crumple the whole piece of paper, put it in his mouth, and like chum it up and like chew it up and get so much saliva in it, and it would turn into like a hard softball. And then he'd spit it out and he'd throw it either at the chalkboard or at somebody when they weren't looking. And it was like a cow or something. How he would chew this thing up, and it come out of his mouth like a hard golf ball. So Jay taken it in the eye with a equivalent version of a piece of bread. Here's Mike in Napa. Go ahead, Mike.
Hi. How you doing?
Hey, man.
Hey, so I've had two bad rock star experiences, but the one I called about is in 1993, Vince Neil was opening for Van Halen in Sacramento, and he played some solo stuff and a couple songs from Motley Crue. Of course, crowd goes crazy, and he says, "What, you like fucking Motley Crue?" Of course, we all screamed, "Yes," and he said, "Fuck you," and he threw down the microphone, stormed off the stage, and didn't finish off his set.
Oh, wow. Bad day for Vince there, huh?
Oh, yeah. The other one, really quickly, I saw Rick Springfield in Kelseyville, California, and he was having a bad night. He took off his guitar and was storming over towards the drum kit, and he was going to smash his guitar into the drums. His keyboard jumped over, tackled him on stage, and the fight ensued backstage. And when they came back out, the keyboard player had a fat lip.
Really?
Actual fist fight during the concert. Yeah.
Wow. All right. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate that. So you got a little Vince Neil action and a little Rick Springfield action in that one. At that time, Vince obviously wasn't in Motley Crue. It would have probably been, as he said, mid-early 90s, right? So if Vince was doing a solo show opening for Van Halen, that was probably when Vince was in solo mode, and Motley, I'm assuming, had Corabi as the singer. So there's probably a lot of hard feelings there with Motley, but he's doing a couple Motley songs. Didn't like that people reacted to it. That's God knows what was going on with substances at that time. Jim in Colorado. Go ahead, Jim.
Hey, how's it going today, Eddie?
Good, man.
Hey, mine isn't necessarily about an artist, but I was at the Rush show back in May of 1997. It was the Test for Echo concert and tour. And the big draw for that tour, the big selling point for that tour is they were playing 2112 for the first time in its entirety because they'd never done that before.
Mm-hmm.
But we were at Fiddler's Green Amphitheater, which is, outside shed, and it was just raining all day, miserable, drizzly. And to add to the gloom, there was this guy that was sitting behind us that was just drunk as a skunk. I mean, and he was trying to talk to us and, and get in. Oh, you guys, high five. No, we're trying to ignore him. And so to add to that gloomy day, this guy eventually just heaved his guts all over. And I had my backpack underneath the seat, and it was my wife's backpack, and he heaved his guts all over our feet, all over the backpack. And needless to say, that backpack rode in the trunk on the way home, and my wife asked me, what happened to my backpack? I said, well, sorry, going in the trash.
So the guy puked on it.
The guy puked all over it, and it was just all over. I swear to God, I'd never seen so much puke come out of a guy except at a beer festival, maybe. But
why did you even bother taking it? Because he had stuff in it? I mean, wouldn't you throw it in the trash right there?
I was going to, but I went up to the bathroom and rinsed it off a little bit and threw it in the trunk on the way home because we had stuff that we wanted to put in it. Because we had binoculars and some other stuff and ponchos. Since it was all rainy and everything like that, you're right. I probably should have just thrown it away right there, but I didn't want to juggle all that stuff all the way back to the car because sometimes it's 45 minutes hike back to the car.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, that's it. And thank you, Jim, for the call. I mean, we can get into stuff here, and again, this goes in so many different areas because we can also talk about. As I said at the top of the show when we set this up today, doesn't necessarily have to be artists. I mean, it might be, but it can be shows, people at shows, surrounding situations. We're getting mostly concert stuff, which I expect and is totally fine. But again, there could be stuff at meet and greets. It could be all kinds of stuff. I mean, it's endless, the opportunities for, as we're calling it, rock to go wrong. Let's go to Long Island and get Dave in here. Go ahead, Dave.
Hey, how are you?
Dave, you there? Hey, man, we got you. Go ahead.
Yeah. This is a story about Faith No More, which is kind of timely, I guess, because they're getting back together. But in the late 90s, I used to go and hang out near the back door of Roseland after the shows. And in this particular case, Mike Patton came out, and he had the scabs and stuff on his the bridge of his nose. I don't know if he took a fall backstage or if he got into a scuffle backstage or if it was even from that day, but he was in a very pissy mood. And he was speaking in another language, and he knew somebody that was out there. So it looked like he came out to, meet up with this guy that was out there. Somebody was telling me it was Portuguese. I'm not quite sure, but I used to always carry a disposable camera with me, and in this case, I might have been the douche. I was trying to get pictures of him, and he was not happy with me, and he was kind of menacing me, kind of back and forth, and we were, almost engaged in a fight to the point where he started walking very quickly down the street and just hopped into a cab that was sitting there that two older, Asian women had just gotten into and kind of escaped from me in the cab, but it was just
because you were taking pictures. He was freaked out because you were just taking pictures.
Yeah, because he was trying to talk to this guy, and he came out in a bad mood to begin with, and I was kind of in his face a little bit with the disposable camera. I mean, it was back in the day, and it was funny looking back on it. I have those pictures, I have pictures of them at all kinds of crazy angles and stuff like that. But I would take the L on that one and say that I was being kind of douchey to him. But it's a funny story to be able to the fact that he ended up almost running away from me and getting in a cab and just hightailing it out of there. It was somebody else's cab. They were already sitting in there.
Going God knows where with two total strangers, right? It's
right. Exactly.
He really did want to get away from you, Dave, whatever it took.
Yeah.
Oh, man. All right, buddy. Thank you. Appreciate the call. Hanging out at Roseland. I did that many, many times. Went to many, many shows there. Roseland was a great venue in New York City. Back in the day, it was a dance hall. Then they started doing concerts. It was a perfect size venue, probably 4,000 people. Had a little upstairs area, big open floor, big stage. I introed Slayer there. I saw AC/DC there. It's condos now. It's long gone, but that was a good venue, good part of Manhattan. Coming in and out from Jersey, it was easy by Lincoln Tunnel. You could walk. Used to be a parking garage. You could self-park your car. It was $20. Now that garage is $90. I mean, it's crazy when I think of the stories. I could fill hours and days of my own of stuff that's gone on. Let's get one more, and then we'll get a break, and we'll keep going through what we're calling Rock Gone Wrong today here on Trunk Nation. Here's Chris in New York. Hey, Chris, go ahead.
Hey, Eddie, so this is not a brush with doucheness. This is more of a rock gone wrong.
All right.
Great title. So this was at the mid.
I still say, hold on a second. I still say we should do a show called that. What did you just say, Chris? What did you say?
A brush.
What with
a brush with doucheness.
Yeah, that's be good to do one day. I just want to see Joel make
the last day after your show.
I just want to see Joel have to make a graphic that does that portrays that, because we put it, for those that don't follow on socials, every day we put a graphic out a couple hours before the show with what we're doing on the show today. So Joel, you got to come up with a graphic. I want to see the font. I want to see the whole thing. It'll be great.
Hysterical.
Go ahead, man. Go ahead, Chris.
All right, Eddie. So this was at the Chance Theater in Poughkeepsie, New York. This had to be maybe 20 years ago. It was Rat. It was the weirdest lineup of Rat ever. It was Blops on drums, John Corabi on bass, Cavazo and DeMartini on guitar, and Jizzy Pearl singing. There was no Stephen Pearson.
Yeah, people. There was a lot of weird lineups of Rat that people forget about, and that's definitely one of them.
So it was right around the time when like smoking got banned from bars, like when you couldn't smoke in bars anymore. So it was right around that time, probably about 20-something years ago. So I'm at the show. It's it's a good crowd. Everyone's hanging out. Dude, somebody dropped a stink bomb in the club.
Oh.
So the whole club smells like an ass. You can see like blots and up there. They're like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? Dude, Jizzy Pearl gets on the mic. He's like, I don't give a shit. If you guys got cigarettes, you got pot, go ahead. Fucking light it up. Light it up. We got to get this smoke out of here. They're fucking playing a song. Dude, they couldn't take it. They didn't even play Round and Round. They were just like, that's it. Good night. And they fucking left. They probably ended about 3-4 songs short, but yeah, they didn't even play Round and Round, bro.
Wow. That is and so they were encouraging people to light anything up to help try to mask the smell.
Totally. And you got to do me a favor. If you ever run into Corabi or any of those guys, just ask them, do you remember the stink bomb incident upstate New York? They're going to remember, bro. There's no way.
This was at the Chance, you said.
The world famous Chance Theater in Poughkeepsie, New York.
Yeah, I was there. I've been there a few times. Is that still there? I heard they were selling that. Is it gone? I don't hear about that anymore. Is it gone? Do you know?
They did sell it. It's still there. My son is in the School of Rock program. He plays guitar. So every now and then they rent that place out and they get to play the Chance, which is pretty cool. Last I heard that the owners are putting money into it and they're trying to make it a cool club. So hopefully within another year or two, it'll be open. But, that's all we could do is hope. Great venue.
Yeah. All right, Chris. Thank you, man. Yeah, I definitely haven't seen shows advertised there in a long time. When I worked in a record store, there was a guy that used to come in. And again, as Chris said, this was before smoking really started getting banned everywhere. But there was a guy that used to come in, and he smelled so bad. He just smelled of like awful, awful body odor. And he would just come into the record store and sit across we'd be behind the counter, and he would just fire away a million questions. He was one of these guys that would just spend hours in the store, not really buying anything, had nothing to do, talking to us, looking through the records, just hours. And he smelled so bad that one of the guys I worked with who smoked used to just light up, even though even then you weren't supposed to smoke in the store. And he'd just light up and he'd blow cigarette smoke at the guy. Like the guy would be like a foot away and he would puff and blow the smoke right at the guy. Because the alternative, and I despise cigarette smoke, okay? But in this instance, I was happy smelling the cigarette over this guy. That's how bad the guy smelled. Consistently, too. Like the guy never must have taken a shower. So gross, man. But this was obviously a stink bomb that was self-induced. This wasn't one person. I got to tell you, the other night, just this past Friday, in I'll tell you, I don't know if I said this on the air the other day. So this past Friday, I'm in San Antonio with the UFO tribute with Lights Out, and the place was full, and it was super humid and hot in San Antonio. And that place, I went up towards the end of the show because I had to go back down onto the stage, and they have a staircase that goes up into the dressing room, and there's a door, and I opened up the door to get ready to go back down to the stage as the band was coming off to talk to the audience. And that club, I guess, club, crazy humidity, a lot of people, a lot of dudes sweating, a lot of dudes drinking, a lot of dudes watching the show. It was probably 80% male audience. Stinking and drinking, humidity. I opened the door to the dressing room to get ready, which is, again, up top, to go down the stairs to the stage. And when I opened that door, it was like a release of air that smelled so bad because it was like this club filled with sweaty people after a couple hours, and it had all like accumulated, and, you know, hot air and humidity rises, and it was like a blast into my face when I opened the door. I almost threw up. It wasn't anything wrong with the club. I mean, it just was hot and humid and whatever. It wasn't like, you know, one particular person. It was just the cumulative effect of people being in there and all of the humidity and stinking and sweating and all gathered up into that hallway. When I released the door, it moved all the air there. It was rough. Man, you really do never know what you're going to get into, do you? When you get into doing stuff like this on the show. Tomorrow on the program, tomorrow's Perner, right, Joel?
Yeah, Perner tomorrow, Sorum Thursday.
Dave Perner of Soul Asylum tomorrow. Thursday, Matt Sorum returning to the show, talking about this charity concert being released, and we'll spend some time with them, but we'll have plenty of phone time as well next 2 days for you to get more into this as well if you got stories you don't get through with today. But we have more time today, so let's get a quick break, and when we come back, we'll get back over to you and your stories of rock gone wrong. It could be everything from smells to encounters to interactions. We had somebody, Leslie West, attacking someone. We had Mike Patton running from somebody and jumping into a random taxi. We've had Lemmy giving a one-word blunt answer. We've had a potpourri of things.
If it happens in the world of rock,
You'll find out about it here.
Trunk Nation.
Talking all things rock. You talking to me?
Now, Eddie Trunk.
Okay, rock gone wrong. More of your stories. As we're getting a crazy mix of stuff, which is great. All kinds of stuff coming into play here. Let's get back to the phones here, and we'll pick it up in Atlantic City, New Jersey. Tommy is joining us. Go ahead, Tommy.
Eddie, what's up, brother? Happy birthday. How's it going?
Hey, Tommy, good.
Okay, so a couple years ago, I was on a Facebook page. You're welcome. I was on a Facebook page, some Journey Facebook page, and I'm sure you know Neil Schon likes to mix it up with fans every now and then, and he answers back. You know, he's not. Sometimes he's cool. Sometimes he can be a little short with people. So, you know, one of the things about Journey, you know, how they always say Steve Perry always gets a cut if they're touring and stuff like that, even though he doesn't play with them, or he's making some money still somehow. So I said something to the effect of that, yeah, there's no way Arnell is getting a full cut with the band. Oh my God, you would have had to seen what happened. So he jumps. First of all, the diehard, and I'm a decent Journey fan, but the diehards were totally flaming me, sticking it up my ass with every comment you name. Oh, how do you know you're an asshole? You have no followers. And then Neil chimes in. He's like, "Of course he does. Why wouldn't he?" I'm like, "Oh God." So I didn't mix it up with him because I'm like, who expects that to happen? Like he's going to answer, but he did. And I'm like, listen, no disrespect, but all these years you built this band to what it is, and he's got a full cut. I don't know. That's where it ended. I wasn't rude to him or anything, but he kind of came at me, and the fans really came at me like I called him like a murderer or something. It was amazing. I'm like, holy shit! Like, look at these people, get a life. But, so that's
there is always going to be any band is always going to have a segment of their fan base that is so unbelievably fanatical that they will do and say and fall in line with anything that is the mandate from that band at that time. And then what they will do is they will, they will try to inflame the situation or whatever because they feel like it will get them more in with the band that they're a fan of. It's like they'll fluctuate and take whatever side they have to take to make the top person in whatever band they're a fan of happy and appear to be in their corner because it feels like it's going to get them more inside with that person. I don't know if I'm explaining it right, but I see that happen all the time.
Yeah, no, absolutely, 100%, no doubt about it. They were so protective of him, and I'm like, whoa, God. They were all over me, these fans. And he, like I said, his comment, he wasn't like a jerk to me, but seemed like it came across like, well, why wouldn't he be a full paid member? And I'm like, well, I don't know. Look, I just thought it was odd, and
Yeah, no, and I understand where you're coming from on that, Tommy, and thanks for the call. I think the reality of the situation is that all of these bands, their business is structured differently. But what happens sometimes is, look, if you have a really important member of a band, like a lead singer, who's been there for a long time, like Arnell, they may be getting paid an equal amount of money than the founding members on gigs and touring, but they don't have ownership stake in the band, meaning, when the band's over or that person's not in the band anymore, they don't get a piece, they don't get paid, they don't have anything to do, they don't have an ownership stake in the name and the business. But they might, say there's 3 key members in a band, they might get an equal third of the receipts based on their deal. Some do, some don't. I don't know. Every business is different. But the bottom line is, usually once someone, whatever your original lineup is, once someone leaves, and if they come back or there's a replacement member, those people are usually brought in and brought into the band. They're either brought back if they were original, or the new person is brought in as a paid employee. Meaning that when it's over, they're done, they get no piece of anything. Now, there are cases where an original key member comes back and the person is needed back so badly that they're in a position to say, look, I don't come back unless I get a piece. I want my full cut back. I want my full stake back. And then sometimes that happens. Sometimes you don't want to have the piece of the business because sometimes the business might be in debt behind the scenes and you're going to inherit the debt too. But going back to the fans, I've seen that so many times. Like, I've been on the other side of that, where I will have said something that is perceived to be critical or not exactly in line with whatever the narrative is for a certain band at that time. And that 10% of that band's fan base that is just, you have to be on board and can't even have remotely a dissenting or objective different opinion. So they will pounce, and then they will try to get the 1 or 2 band members that are the key members of whatever band you're talking about, get on their radar so they can look what we're doing. We're defending you. We got your backs. Look at how bad this guy is for not liking this record or song as much as the other one. Because they're so warped that they just think, it's going to to make us even closer to that person. He's going to like us even more because look what we did for them. God, I've seen that so many times, especially doing what I do. People take things out of context. You can't believe what Eddie said. He said he hated. No, I didn't. Just said I didn't like that record as much as the other one. My God, I've seen that a billion times. One quick story about ownership and wanting it or not. The late, great John Sykes, when he was doing Thin Lizzy, if you remember, not when Phil Lynott was alive. This was when they did a version of the band after Phil had died where John was singing and playing lead guitar, and Scott Gorham and Brian Downey were in the band. It was a great lineup. Of course, there is no Thin Lizzy without Phil Lynott. We know that. But that version of Thin Lizzy with John up front was really great for what it was. There's actually a live album from that. I think it's called like One Night Live. That's great. Again, take it as what it is, but it's still cool. But, you know, one of the things that led to that falling apart that I had found out after the fact was John had been doing that for a couple years, basically becoming the front man of Thin Lizzy. And the Thin Lizzy world and estate was owned by Phil's mom, and also I think Scott Gorham had a piece. And John, after doing it for a while, basically was like, hey, look, I'm keeping Thin Lizzy alive. I'm now the front person of the band. I don't want to be a paid employee anymore. I want to be a partner. I want to have a piece. And they didn't give it to him, and he wanted a piece of the name. He wanted a piece of the business. And they wouldn't give it to him at the time, and that led to him ultimately saying, I'm not doing this anymore as a salary person, because he felt he had built it to the point where he was carrying so much of the weight that he wanted a piece of the thing. And I remember somebody at that time that was working with the band said to me, I understand John's position, but he'd be doing himself a disservice if he became a partner. Because behind the scenes, he would have inherited all this debt and deals that they had to recoup and pay back on. So they're like, he's actually better off just getting a salary and not having a piece of the business. So again, I talk to you guys about this all the time, but there's so many things that go on behind the scenes with how all these deals are structured. It would be amazing to you. Each one's different. Here's Al in Tampa. Hey, Al.
Hey, Eddie. Hey, it's pretty funny. I'm following up Tommy from Atlantic City. I actually know him personally, but I used to live in New Jersey. It's pretty funny, man.
It sounded kind of connected to you guys. I remember hearing from both of you for whatever reason around from New Jersey.
I used to, you know me. I used to live in New Jersey.
Yeah,
I moved
course.
down here to Tampa like 3 years ago. So.
You got out of the taxes. I get it.
Hell yeah, dude. My story is actually a guy that's been in the news lately, Morrissey. I'll tell you a story on this guy, man. So me and my family, my wife, my daughter, and a friend of mine, we went to go see, this was 4 years ago, obviously when I still lived in New Jersey. We went to New York City, and we went to go see the Beach Boys at Carnegie Hall. And before the show, we were looking for a restaurant to eat at or something. But there was an Irish pub right across the street from Carnegie Hall. So we went in there, and we're waiting for a table. So I'm sitting at the bar with my buddy. My buddy doesn't even say anything to me. He texts me. He's like, I think that's Morrissey sitting at the table behind you, right? So I don't turn around and make it look obvious, but I turn to talk to my wife, and I kind of glance out of the corner of my eye, and it looks just like him. I'm like, nah, it can't be him, And so as we were going to our table, I got a good look at him as we were passing, and it was him. And he was sitting at a table, I think it was with members of his band and whatever his entourage was. Probably about 5 other people at his table. So we go and sit at our table, and I'm like, you know what? I know how this guy is, so I'm not going to even approach this guy, but he got up, and went to the bathroom, but somebody from his table walked with him. So I was like, I'm just going to try to snap up a picture of him as he's walking back to his table. So when he's walking back from the bathroom, the guy that's walking with him, I don't know if it was a member of his band or like, management or whatever. I mean, he's looking directly at me like with the stink eye, man. Because I believe he got, I think he caught wind of like my friend and I recognizing him, because it wasn't too long after that, he paid his bill and got the hell out of Dodge, But it wasn't like I was going to walk up to his table anyway, and because I know the reputation of the guy, and plus he's there having dinner and stuff, man. I'm not that guy, man. That's going to go and interrupt the guy's dinner. But I mean, he definitely knew that he was recognized, and just to get up to go to the bathroom with a member of his entourage, the guy just was staring me down. I was like, oh shit.
So did you take the picture or no?
No, I wasn't able to get one up because the guy was blocking him. He was walking in front of him. And, I kind of had, I didn't have the phone up in front of my face to take a picture, but I was sitting at the table. I had a perfect view of him, but I had it kind of up. And the guy noticed it, and he was like, he's almost like, don't even do it, man. So I had to respect the wishes. I didn't take no picture, but it was funny, though, man. Me and my friends were laughing because my friend actually looked up just to make sure we thought it was Morrissey, he looked up his tour dates, and it looked like the day before he had just finished his tour, his last date in Boston or something, or 2 days before, and he must have flew into Manhattan, into New York, probably to fly home or something. But maybe we thought maybe he was going to who knows, he might have been going to the Carnegie Hall Beach Boys show. Who knows, man, with that guy. So, but I thought that was a funny story.
He might have been going to the Carnegie Deli to get a nice pastrami sandwich, too. Who knows?
I was gonna walk up to him and say, how's your steak? But I didn't want
Yeah, that's not happening.
That guy. Yeah. Anyway, thanks a lot, Eddie, man.
See you, Al. All right. There's a way, I don't know how to do it, but there's a way, I guess, where you can take a picture of somebody and run it through something in your phone, whether it's AI or Google or whatever, and it'll tell you who that person is, if they're anyone of note. I guess there's a way you can do that. So Al could have taken the photo if he was unsure if it was Morrissey, and I think the image, and there's some sort of way that it'll tell you. The reason why I know that is because that's happened to me, where I've told you guys this story before. I'll be somewhere and again, there might be 50 people in a room, and one of them will make a big scene because they're used to watch me or they listen to me or whatever it is, and can't come over and take a photo or whatever, which of course I'll do. And then the other people all in the room will be looking around like, who is this guy? Why is this guy making a big deal out of this guy? Who is he? Who is he? And I'll see people will take a photo of me and then run it through Google or whatever, and then come over and be like, hey, we kind of figured out who you are. Can we get a photo? Or they'll be like, we really don't know who you are, but can we have a photo in case we figure it out afterwards and want it? I've literally had that happen. Here's Mark in Texas. Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah. Hey, Eddie. How you doing? Hey, I've got a couple of, I'll try to make these as quick as I can. I've got one backstage meeting somebody, and then I've got another one regarding, I actually had a situation in Dallas back in 2001 where I actually bought a counterfeit ticket and didn't know it. But anyway, in 1980, I got back, won't bore you with a story of how, but I got back to meet Rush on Permanent Waves. And there's only about 8 or 10 people back there, so it was great. We were kind of huddled up by the dressing room exit door.
This is back
in
1980. You're going back to 80. Permanent Waves is 1980.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And I agree with you. I think that's I kind of go back and forth, but I think that's always my favorite album of theirs for a lot of reasons. But anyway, that tour I got to see twice in a week, which was fantastic. But anyway, so Neil comes out first, signs whatever everybody's got, and starts to walk away. And I can see that. I can see a bus and where he's going toward, and I just it's almost like the 17-year-old in me just couldn't bear to watch him walk away. So So I called his name and started walking toward him. And I'm telling you, Eddie, his look he gave me when he turned around, he was about halfway to the bus. Instantly now, when I saw Beyond the Lighted Stage, I thought of the story of Limelight. And I'm like, oh, that's why he gave me that look. Because everybody knows that now that he was not, he just, once he was done with the stage, he'll sign, he was nice enough to do it back then, but he wasn't like Geddy and Alex, which would nicely do a lot more things than Neil would. But I remember the look he gave me, probably could have shot daggers through me, but, he still talked to me a minute, but I just remember seeing their documentary and thinking, wow, okay, that tells me the whole story of why that happened. But, anyway,
well, that's the line. Yeah. The line in Limelight. I can't pretend a stranger is a long-awaited friend.
Long-awaited friend, exactly.
Yeah, he was.
Exactly.
Neil. I think I've told this many times. I had one day with Neil Peart, and the only time I interviewed him, and again, it always pops up on YouTube from time to time, but it was for TV. It was on VH1 Classic, probably around 2005, something like that, and. We spent the day together, and I'm telling you, he was the coolest guy, the most regular guy. After we shot the interview, we stood on 37th Street in New York, just me and him. He was smoking a little cigarette, and we talked for an hour out on the street. Not one person stopped him. Nobody even picked him out, and we just talked like hanging out, just bullshitting. The only time that entire day I spent with Neil Peart, the only time he got weird was if anyone made a big deal out of him being Neil Peart. As long as you talk to him like it was any other guy, like it was the guy making lunch, whether it was the cameraman, whether it was the receptionist, you continued on that level and you just behaved like that, it was fine. He blended in with everybody. The minute somebody was like, holy shit, dude, no, the biggest fan, can I get a... that he completely shut down. He completely changed. So I can completely understand what you're saying.
Absolutely. And the only other one was, I don't know if you remember this, but right after 9/11, Tommy Shaw and a bunch of classic rockers put together two big shows. One was in Atlanta and one was in Dallas to totally benefit the 9/11 families. And I went to the one in Dallas, and I went on the spur of the moment. I didn't have a ticket. Every ticket in the place was $50. And there was a guy on the curb. I kind of walked up to the ticket booth, and they were out, but there was a guy standing there, and he goes, "Hey, I'm got to go meet some friends over here, but I got these 3 tickets left." And I said, "How much?" And he said, "Oh, $50. That's what they sell for." And I bought one, and it was a really good seat. It was like 7th row, just on towards stage left, but it was a really good seat. And it was a long day. It was kind of like it was at the amphitheater at Fair Park in Dallas. It was a kind of like a Texas Jam style day, but a ton of bands. Journey finished it at the end of the night, but about halfway through the show, I'm sitting there, and I got some friends back on the lawn, but we kind of traded places with that seat, getting close for certain bands. And finally, this guy comes over. He comes up and he goes, "Hey, you're in my seat." And I said, "No." And we looked at each other's tickets, and it was the same seat, and the tickets were identical. And we ended up going with security to the Ticketmaster office right there on the grounds. And man, it took them about 10 minutes, and they looked at me and said, "Sorry, you've got the fake one." And I'm like, man, I drove 6 hours to come to this show, and I bought it honestly. I didn't pay. I paid ticket price and face value and all this, and they saw that I was being honest about it and all that, and they basically, the guy, one of the security guys goes, "Here, go enjoy the show," and he gave me 2 tickets that were actually like 5th row center. So actually, my honesty won me better seats, but that's the only time I've ever had counterfeit ticket happen. But anyway, Eddie, thanks for the time, and I love everything you do. Keep doing it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mark. Appreciate it. So Mark had a bad situation buying counterfeit tickets, but ended up being honest and flipped to his favor there in the end, which is nice. Let's go to Colorado. Here's Don. Go ahead, Don.
Yeah. Hey, so this a couple of years ago on the M72 tour with Metallica, and some friends and I, we flew up to Chicago to go see the show at Soldier Field, and it still blows my mind you didn't go see any of those shows, Eddie, but nonetheless.
I know. It wasn't by design. It just was the way it played out, but I know. I was bummed about it, too.
Yeah, just one thing about those shows. It's the first time I've ever seen a stadium show where I really felt like it was in an arena. That's how awesome that stage setup was. I mean, it was just tight. But anyway, we flew up and we go to Soldier Field, and this just tells you why we need the hard tickets back. So when we were in line to get into Soldier Field, it's raining, and everybody's crammed in there. And then all of a sudden, everything just starts going like apeshit because everybody's tickets weren't scanning. So they basically, I felt so terrible because they basically had these like 18-year-old kids that were trying to scan your phones to get you through the turnstiles. And none of the entrances, at least on the side of Soldier Field that we were on, could get in. So they just kept letting people in the front of the stadium, but then there was no flow, right? Because nobody could get through the turnstiles. And all of a sudden, like, just chaos breaks out, and everybody just starts jumping the turnstiles. The attendants, they're like radioing, but no one's really helping them. And I'm looking at my buddy, and we're just getting pushed around like everywhere because people were throwing drinks. They're upset, right, because they can't get in, and they're just like rescanning your phone, and nothing's happening. So all hell breaks loose. The attendants just said, "Fuck this, we're out of here." They don't get paid enough. They just left. And everybody just starts like pushing their way through the turnstiles, and everyone just jumps them. And all I know is like I got caught in the wave with my buddy, and we just got pushed right through. And then we were just in the concourse, and then went to the show. But it was very crazy. I mean, it's like your worst nightmare with these digital tickets. Like something like that goes down because like nobody was willing to wait to figure it out, and there was nobody really helping the attendants figure it out either.
Yeah, well, I just had that happen, and thank you, Don. I just went a couple weeks ago here in Vegas to see Stone Temple Pilots, and the venue where they were playing, which is an outdoor pool stage at a casino, the scanners or something went down with the tickets, and they were holding people outside, and the line was forever to get in, and the band went on. I missed the first 3 songs of that concert. I'm standing in the line outside trying to get in because I was like, I've never seen a line like this. Now, there were a lot of people there, but I was like, this is crazy. And it turned out that something happened with one of the scanners, and there was all sorts of chaos. But they should have held the band. I mean, they should have radioed back to the band and it's been like, hey, we got a problem out here. You got a lot of people out here can't get in. Just wait 15 minutes till we figure this out. But they didn't. And I was so pissed because I'm hearing the band cranking away, and I'm out front, in the line trying to get through, with a bunch of other people, too, that missed some of the show. Charles in Jacksonville, Florida. Go ahead, Charles.
Hey, Eddie. Good to talk to you. Hey, I got one for you. This is going to be a little immature, but it was 40 years ago. 15-year-old Charles at the Fox Theater in Atlanta. Tesla kicks the Great White. Frank Hannon, the guitarist for Tesla, or Hanna. Absolutely, 100% the biggest dick I'd ever met.
Frank? Frank's like the nicest guy in the world.
Eddie, he got off the bus. Remember, it's a bunch of 15-year-olds, and we don't know no better. We don't know they had a bad day. They probably got 2 hours
also,
sleep.
and again, not making excuses for them, but they'll be the first to tell you at that time they were also having some serious drug problems going on.
But he literally got off the bus, and you got to remember, I think Great White's already came off. Kids got to meet them. We got to meet the Kicks. They were great. Half of Tesla gets off. Are great. He gets off, starts saying, screw this, I'm tired of this shit, fuck this, and a kid in front of me, and this is like 40 years ago, threw the album at him and said, here, you keep it, we're the reason you're here, and walked off. And I've always remembered it, and here's the immature part. 40 years later, and I still don't like Tesla because of that.
Well, they'll scar you, that kind of stuff. But what are you saying actually happened, though? He wouldn't sign, or he threw the record?
No, he just got off complaining every time when somebody would come up to him and be like, he was walking to the Fox had the buses, though, and you had to walk up to the backstage so you could catch them as they were walking by, and he just started cussing the kids. Just like,
what year? What year was this again? Around when?
Oh, let me see. It was Great White Tesla and Kicks was the opener, and they were doing a co-headline. Maybe 89, 88, 89.
Yeah, I mean, those guys, I mean, the Tesla guys at that time were getting pretty loaded. So, and it was, so I don't, Charles, I got to run. Thank you. I'm not making excuses for people. It is what it is at the time, but that was that they were not in a sane spot at that time. John in Arizona. Go ahead, John.
How you doing, Eddie?
Hey, John.
Yeah, so I met Robert Plant. I met Robert Plant twice, and I'm kind of fudging a little bit because the second time I met him actually ended up being one of my favorite things. But you'll understand why I'm telling the story. So first time, it was in Vegas, and he was on tour, and I was trying to catch up with him. And I do a lot of this type of stuff. I get autographs and stuff. I'm not an eBayer, but it's a hobby. And he literally gave me the stink eye, and it was just me and him. So the second time, a couple years later, he came to Phoenix. And I wasn't really going to, pursue it, even though I knew where he stayed the previous time. And so I wasn't going to pursue it. And it's a Sunday, and I get a call from one of my buddies, and him and a couple other guys I know went, and they actually were at the hotel when Robert Plant showed up, and Robert Plant was literally cursing at him. And so he calls me, he said, "Hey, if you want to try and get cursed at, he's here. I'm not going to go back, though." It just so happens that my wife and two sons, which my older son was 5 and my younger son was a baby. They were in Phoenix visiting her mom, and I'm about 2 hours away. And I called her and I said, "Hey, babe, look, go to this hotel, and if you see Robert Plant, just get a picture with the kids, because I like to get pictures with my kids even more than myself." And I said, "I'm coming right down." So I jump in the car, I go flying down to Phoenix. I go there, I see them. Shortly thereafter, I see the Shapeshifters up at the bar. They're all at the bar. And so we're waiting for a little bit. We're all starving. And I said, "Hey," and I said, "Well, let's get something to eat." I said, "We're not going to go anywhere else anyway." So we order some food. Shortly thereafter, right, he kind of flanked us. Coming out of the side here comes Robert Plant. And he walks up to the bar. And so I walk up and I was like, "Hey, Robert, hey." And he wouldn't even turn around. And so his security guy.
Like 20 seconds, John.
Yeah. Oh, shoot.
Real quick,
anyway,
go. What is it?
He walked past me, turns around and gets in my ear and goes, "What's the fascination?" And I said, "With you, you're Robert Plant." And he goes, "No, with them. They don't know me." And he was talking to my kids. And I said, "They do." And I said, they said his favorite song is Immigrant Song. And then I said, he's also seen the Stones and the Who with me. And he looks right at my son and he goes, "I'm sorry." But anyway, it turned out to be great. And he ended up taking the picture with my sons. He's actually holding my son up. So
I gotta go. Thank you, John. Thank you. All right, it ended well. Thank you. Okay.